Welcome to Coding with bcbrian. Last time we added the ability to do test to our plunker, and with our dice rolling app we were able to create a test that tests that this string test equals the test string, but that's really not the point of test. The point of test is to prove that our code works the way that we intended it to. Which in the future can help us catch bugs or help us code faster. Eventually we'll morph this into what's called test-driven development. First of all, though, what we're going to do is rename this to dice spec.js, because we're going to use this to test our dice file and test that all of this works correctly, and then we'll add a new method via test-driven development. So first of all, let's change these things. We're going to just call this dice tests. We're going to describe let's look at dice real quick. So let's do let's start with dice initialization. And so when we create a dice, we pass in face values, and it should have these values available for us when it returns the dice. So back in our spec, something that we're going to do is dice. We're going to have this var dice created globally so it's accessible in all of our tests. And then before each it that runs, we're going to do dice equals new dice. And apparently we're getting an error now, so I just want to peek into this and see. Seems like we're getting a lot of problems with this sign-in component, and I don't believe we're using it, so let's comment that out. Now we're getting an error on line 27 of script spec. Oh, that would be a thing. We changed this one to dice. And we're going to hit enter and comment out this and say my tests So what caught me is I noticed that this wasn't showing up anymore. I wanted to figure out what was going on. And the issue was that we were referencing script spec, which didn't exist anymore. So now we've got that up and going again. So dice init, and the dice should be initiated with a with face values. So for ease of life right now, we're going to initialize it with two options, and it's an array, right? I believe that's how we defined it. It would come in as an array. So we'll pass an array with the value 1 and the value 2. So we have a two-sided dice currently. Okay, and we're going to first test that this dot face values, or dice dot face values, equals the string that we passed in, the array that we passed in. So let's do this. Let's say, let's add another variable. Let's do array, sorry, let's call it test array. Let's set that equal to this set of this array here, and let's pass in test array. And then we're going to say that dice dot what did we call that? Face values equals test array. So we're going to basically just copy this, get rid of it. So we've got that, and then we're going to get test array. And they pass. Cool. So let's do another one. It's another thing that we know. We know that the number of sides, so let's change this, should equal test array dot. So if we see currently we're failing, and if we just make that length, now we're passing. All right. Is there any other things that we know right off the bat? Nope. So now we've got this method add side. So let's write a test for that. So we'll copy all of this. We're going to do dice add side. We're going to get rid of all of this. And you can see that currently add side is all passing. We're going to say added side 3. Okay, so we know that dice has a method called add side where we pass in the side. Whoops, I don't want to look at Bootstrap. Where we pass in the side and it adds it. Okay, so we're going to add 3. We can close this, we don't need this anymore. And it's saying that these are all passing still, which is interesting. So I'd imagine that dice add side was adding a 3 and that all of this code was running and that was happening. So why might this be passing? Well, we're passing in this array, and so since we're passing in this array, we're probably actually modifying this test array. So what we're going to do so that they're not the same array is copy this and paste this in. And now we get that they do not equal, but their lengths are equal. Let's make this dot length. So we were testing that a thing equaled itself, and that's not very helpful. So now this one's failing and this one's also failing, which is good.